everyone, we're back with another American Girl video this week, and this week we're here with one of Molly's recipes. And Molly was an American girl from around the time of World War II, and this week's recipe is going to be for applesauce cupcakes. And applesauce cupcakes are going to be a rationing recipe, so we're going to show the ways that is done in the recipe in a little bit. So you're going to add 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to a medium bowl, and these are your dry ingredients that we're doing in this bowl first. Then you're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. It is very important to measure those cloves because they can get overbearing very quickly, and add those into the dry ingredients as well. And then we are going to grate about a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg into the dry ingredients. I always buy nutmeg whole. I think it's left over from my Alton Brown days of being obsessed with Good Eats, but nutmeg is something that really it does make a difference to have it ground fresh, so grind your nutmeg into the recipe and it's going to be a lot fresher tasting. Then you're going to mix those dry ingredients with a whisk. In the recipe it says to sift the dry ingredients in, but I found that mixing them together with a whisk is fine. Back in historic times they would have had flour that might have had a few chunks in it, it was not milled as well, but now flour is sifted before it goes into the bags, so if a recipe says to sift in these cases, usually that's a way to mix it up, and I would rather in these cases just mix it up with a whisk. So now is where we're going to get to a little bit of the rationing point. We are going to add 3/4 cup of shortening, and this would not have been butter because butter would have been rationed because the butter would have been sent overseas to the soldiers. And unlike some of the other American Girl videos that you have seen, we are going to be mixing this with a hand mixer. They would have had electric mixers beginning around this time period, which is a little bit of a relief because I'm going to be honest with you, I did not want to beat this by hand. Shortening was coming around this time period. It was oil that was solidified into a hydrogenated fat, meaning that they add hydrogen atoms on, which is going to turn a liquid into a solid. We have since found that that is not the healthiest way to eat things. During that point in time, they thought that it was healthy, but not so much. But this was a way that they were able to make sure that soldiers overseas had the highest quality of things. Then we are going to add some honey in there, and we are not adding sugar because sugar would have been one of those things that was rationed as well. Something that is really important that we hear during the Molly books is how much everybody was very, very focused on doing what is best for the country as a whole and doing what is best for the world as a whole. And we all know the reasons that World War II was fought, and we all know what the outcome of that World War was, but World War II was not called World War II when it was happening. World War II and the things that led to it came up pretty slowly. They were not things that people noticed unless they were directly affecting them. And then over time, certain rights began to be taken more and more, and things got more and more severe, and then it became something that we had to become involved in. And I think it's really important to pay attention to how history can repeat itself in certain situations. And it's also important to look back at history at how in the past we've been united as a country, and that a lot of us are immigrants, as they were in the American Girl books, and that we might need to support people a little bit more. After you've mixed in your honey, you're going to alternate adding your dry ingredients and a cup of applesauce. The applesauce is going to add some of the sweetness as well. And so this is all a recipe they would have used for things like birthdays, or if they did want to have a cake but did not want to use ration cards. All the things in here would not have required the little ration stamps that you had to have at that point in time. They might have saved ration stamps for super special occasions for certain things. And so this is something that didn't have to be a special occasion thing because it didn't have anything in it that would have required those little stamps that each member of the family would have gotten. One thing that is also important to remember with Molly's books is when you are looking at the fact that we took in kids from Europe, we took in refugees at that point in time, and that is something that we have always done in this country, is that when people needed help and when people's countries were not safe for them, that we have always been willing to take people in that did not feel safe. And so that is something that I think a lot of us that grew up reading American Girl books are very familiar with and very understanding of. After you've added those dry ingredients and the applesauce in, you're going to scrape down and mix those until they're well combined, just to get all that powder out of there and make sure that everything is mixed in. And then once everything is combined, you want to mix this as little as possible so they don't get tough. And then get rid of your mixer, because we are going to be adding in your cup of raisins and a 1/4 cup of walnuts. Obviously, if somebody is allergic to nuts, we're going to leave the walnuts out. I actually ended up using pecans because I have a friend of mine that gave me a whole bunch of pecans from her trees, and they work absolutely amazing in this recipe. And then mix those in with a dough whisk or a spoon until they get fully incorporated. Then you are going to scoop those into 18-line muffin cups. The original recipe said that it made 16, but it really did make 18. I don't think I really could have filled these muffin cups any more than I already did. And so these were 18 good-sized muffin cups. And you will know these are done when you poke them and they spring back. You're going to bake them at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. And the toothpick test, these will be too dry. These end up being a little drier than you're used to if you're used to making cake mix cupcakes anyway. And so you do not want to overbake these because they're going to be a little bit drier than you might be used to. Something that I do think we could all do well to remember from the Molly books in general and from a lot of the books about World War II is how much we were united as a country together, that we have more in common with anybody that is living in this country right now, regardless of where they've come from, than we have that is a difference. And there is something that we have in common with every single person in this country, and we need to work on finding common ground and realizing that everybody in this country has a right to live a happy and fulfilling life. This is a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more of these American Girl videos and more of your cooking videos. We have a video coming out every week and we'd love to have you. So we are going to be making a icing recipe. The recipe in the book says to use whatever your favorite icing is. And unfortunately, there's not really many ways to make icing without sugar. And so we're going to make a basic cream cheese icing. So you're going to do 8 ounces of cream cheese and 1 stick of butter, and this needs to be butter, not margarine, and put that into a mixing bowl and cream those together until they are well combined and you can't really tell that there's chunks of either one in there, and get those mixed together. And then we are going to add a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar in there pretty slowly. It is going to take a little bit to get these combined. It works better if both of them are room temperature, because that way they will come together a little bit easier, and if they are close to the same temperature in this particular case. As I mentioned before, the sugar and the butter and the cream cheese would have all been rationed during this point in time, because we have dairy and the butter and the cream cheese, which would have been rationed, and the sugar would have been rationed as well. And so they might have chosen a different way to ice these, or maybe not even ice them at all. But the cream cheese icing was perfect on these. You're going to slowly add your powdered sugar in and then mix that in until it's fully incorporated and the mixture is even. Normally I would do this in my stand mixer, but I had the hand mixer out and it works just fine for this. If it has been a while since you've read your American Girl books and you still have them, or you have access to them in the library, go back and read them as an adult. You will have a different feel for them as an adult as you did when you were a child, because you have more of an idea of what the kids in the books were going through, and more of a way that their stories fit into the world as a whole. So add some vanilla, and I say 2 teaspoons, but honestly I measure with my heart. And then you're going to add half and half cream or milk into this to get it thinned out to the point that it is spreadable. They would not have really used pastry bags in a household at this point in time. That was not something that was really done, so we're going to be spreading this with a knife. And so you want it to be spreadable with a knife pretty easily. It took about a cup to a cup and a half to get this to where it's spreadable, because that cream cheese really sucks up the powdered sugar. After you've got your icing ready to go, your cupcakes are still baking, and you want to let your cupcakes cool completely before you spread your icing on them. And then you're just going to use a knife to spread that icing on. One of the things that will make these last a little bit longer is if you get that icing all the way to the edges of the paper liners, because that is going to seal in any of the water that is still left in those cupcakes. And so that is going to make them last a little bit longer so they don't dry out as fast. I do not recommend icing them while they are still in the pan, because getting them out of the pan once they're iced is going to be a pain. And the more, these do not have to be perfect, the more rustic these look, the more sense they make. And if you have any more of the nuts, you could sprinkle those on top too. I have not iced cupcakes like this in a very long time, because generally I use a pastry bag. So as you are going through and thinking about the books that you read growing up, I know that as I have grown up and thought back to the things that I read when I was little, so much of the American Girl books and the Little House books and a lot of the historic books that I read shaped who I am as a person. They shaped what I believe. They shape how I interact with people and how I see other people. And the one thing that I really learned from the American Girl books is that all of us have more in common than we have differences, and that many of us are immigrants, and the ones of us that aren't have so much history and so much love to share. And we all have so much history and so much love to share. With that being said, we would love to have you join on our 2 membership levels. But if you can't, we would love to just have you as a subscriber. Please leave us a comment letting us know what your favorite American Girl was, what your favorite American Girl stories are, and we would love to have your suggestions as to what American Girl you would like to hear from next. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.